The slap wasn't just loud, it cut through the air. Dozens of students froze mid-step. Conversations halted. Even the basketball game on the other side of the courtyard stopped. Alina's cheek burned, her head turned slightly from the force, but her eyes stayed fixed forward. She didn't cry. She didn't scream. She didn't even flinch after that first second. She simply stood there, holding her books tightly, while Brianna, the self-proclaimed queen of Crestwood High, smirked in satisfaction. "Maybe next time you'll watch where you're going, loser," Brianna said, tossing her hair as her friends snickered. The crowd murmured in shock. Some had phones out, recording. Most just stared. No one stepped in. No one spoke up. For weeks, Alina had told herself to ignore them. She had survived worse, at least, that's what she thought. After all, the last 2 years of her life had been filled with challenges no one at this school knew about. Her father had battled cancer for 18 months before passing away last winter. Her mother, struggling to keep their small-town home, sold it and moved them here, away from family, away from friends, away from everything Alina had known. Crestwood High was supposed to be a fresh start. But instead, it became another battlefield. From her first week, Brianna had singled her out. The reason was petty, maybe it was Alina's secondhand clothes, maybe it was her quiet nature, maybe it was just because bullies always needed someone new to pick on. Whatever the reason, Brianna and her two shadows, Kayla and Maddie, made sure Alina's days were filled with whispered insults, accidental bumps in the hallway, and cruel laughter when she dropped her books. She told her mother nothing. Her mother was already juggling 2 part-time jobs just to pay rent. Alina didn't want to add to her stress. She told herself she could endure it. But after that slap in the courtyard, something shifted. It wasn't just the humiliation, it was the injustice. The way everyone stood there, doing nothing. The way Brianna walked away, certain there'd be no consequences. That night, Alina stared at herself in the mirror, her cheeks still faintly red. And then she opened the old wooden box in her closet. Inside were her father's belongings, a few photos, a wristwatch, and a set of martial arts belts. She had trained in Taekwondo since she was 8 years old. Her father had enrolled her, saying, "Strength isn't about hurting people, Alina. It's about knowing you can, and choosing not to until you have to." She'd stopped training after he died, the grief making her too tired to care about anything. But as she wrapped the white practice tape around her fists that night, she felt something she hadn't in a long time: purpose. For hours, she practiced in her room. Punches, blocks, kicks, every movement sharpening her focus. She wasn't just preparing to fight Brianna. She was reclaiming herself. The next day, whispers followed her down the hallway. Everyone had seen the video of the slap. Brianna had made sure of that. At lunch, Alina walked into the courtyard. Brianna and her crew sat at their usual table, laughing loudly. When Brianna noticed her, her grin widened. Well, if it isn't Little Miss Punching Bag." Alina walked straight up to her. "We're settling this. Right here." The courtyard went silent again. Phones came out instantly. Students gathered in a wide circle, hungry for drama. Brianna raised an eyebrow. "Oh, sweetie, you want another slap?" She stood up, towering slightly over Alina. Alina didn't answer. She simply dropped her backpack, squared her stance, and looked her in the eyes. Brianna shoved her shoulder, expecting her to stumble. But Alina didn't move an inch. The moment Brianna swung for her again, Alina sidestepped, grabbed her wrist, and twisted it in a controlled joint lock. Brianna gasped, not from pain, but from pure shock. In one smooth motion, Alina stepped behind her and swept her leg, sending her to the ground. Gasps erupted from the crowd. Brianna scrambled up, red-faced. She threw a wild punch, but Alina blocked it with precision, stepped in, and delivered a light but firm palm strike to her shoulder, sending her off balance again. Kayla and Maddie tried to step in, but Alina turned to them, her stance unshaken. "Do you really want to do this?" They froze. It wasn't a brawl, it was a demonstration. Every move Alina made was controlled, calm, and professional. She wasn't out to humiliate Brianna. She was out to end the bullying. Finally, she stepped back, allowing Brianna to stand. "You can insult me all you want. But if you ever lay a hand on me again, I will defend myself. And you will regret it." The crowd erupted in cheers. Some even shouted her name. In the days that followed, everything changed. Teachers started paying more attention to bullying incidents. Other students who had been silent came to Alina privately, thanking her for standing up. She joined the school's self-defense club, teaching younger students the basics. Brianna never touched her again. But for Alina, the real victory wasn't defeating her bully, it was finding her own voice again. She had gone from a girl trying to disappear into the background to someone who stood tall, unafraid to take up space. She had proven to herself that her father's words were true: strength isn't about hurting people, it's about knowing you can, and choosing not to, until you have to. And everyone at Crestwood High learned one unforgettable truth that day: the moment they slapped her was the moment they made the biggest mistake of their lives.